Okay, good morning, everybody. Today we're doing something a bit different. I'm giving a shir in two parts. Dafke. So I'm on. It's now what time? Where's my clock? It's about 11:15. It's about 11:15. I'm going to be giving the first part of the shir right now. And I'm going to finish the Maimer. For those of you who have been following with us, we're holding the Maimer B'Shosh Ekdimu, and I left you 15 lines. I literally left you a teeny tiny piece of Maimer to do. Then I'm going to disappear for no more than 15 minutes, 10-15 minutes. I am going to send you the PDF for the next Maimer, Vaydaber Elikim, which is also from Tafshin Yud Gimel, and I'm going to give you the first class on that Maimer. I've already prepared it more or less. I'll take like a 10-minute break. Why am I doing this? Well, depends who you ask. Some people will say because I'm a teacher and I like to teach correctly. Some people say it's because I'm obsessive compulsive and or a little bit too extreme about everything that I do. And they're probably both right. Probably a little bit of both. What we're doing is learning the end of a Maimer, which I dafka left off. I could have very easily finished the Maimer yesterday, as I told you. I chose to continue to leave the Maimer for today because I wanted to dedicate special time. I wanted to dedicate its own time to the issue which is at hand, which is in the wording of the Maimer, avoida, hamshacha behishtalshalus, and things of this sort. So let's set it up. Okay, we're going to set it up. We learned a Maimer, which is based on a Maimer from Tzemach Tzedek, we'll be able to see in the footnotes, which is a really wonderful Maimer. It really is. It's a delicious Maimer. Technically, the Maimer is about the Gemara B'Shosh Ekdimu Yisrael Nasal Nishma. But the typical discussion about 2 crowns and 3 crowns, which we had in the Maimer from the year before, from Yud Beis, is not discussed. Instead, the Rebbe talks about B'Shosh Ekdimu and talks about what he called Avodah Shel Keser, the service of Keser. And towards the end of this Maimer, he also introduced us to this idea called Keser Torah. You do the Avodah of Keser and you zeichet the Keser Torah. I'm going to say this now, in Mitzvah Hashem, in the second shir I'm going to be giving you on the Maimer today. V'daber Elikim is called Dvarim Ha'elu Leimer Anechi. The issue of Keser Torah is going to come up. I would not call the Maimer after this one a hemshech to this one, but I would certainly call the Maimer after this one familiar with this one, and I'll talk about it when I get to that Maimer. There's an avodah of Keser. What's an avodah of Keser? You start your day with Heidah. You start your life. You start your relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu with a submission. You start your avodah by climbing a ramp, not by walking steps. Walking a ramp means you don't even notice that you're growing, but in fact you're growing in an infinite way. Climbing steps means that the growth increments are very explicit, they're very clear, they're very crisp, but they're also limited. Okay? So, there's a frustration involved in Mailis. How did Rebbe say it? If a person starts his life and immediately is evaluating his progress, you can get discouraged. So the Torah says, don't start your life by climbing steps, incremental steps, where you're paying attention to your growth level, because you're going to expose your nakedness, your chesreness, and you're going to get frustrated. Instead, start your life in a void of climbing a ramp where you're serving Hashem at a level of Seviv Kol Almin. And of course the Rebbe says, which he didn't explain. He referenced the line from the Biyuri Hazeh, which I did not learn, so I'm not in a position to speak to. The Aved of Seviv Kol Almin is bittul. The Aved of Seviv Kol Almin is Heidah, submission. And in yesterday's class, I sort of I brought out why this is a big deal. I think it's a very, very big deal. If you think about it honestly. The whole idea that the first thing a human being does when he gets up in the morning is say, Moida Ani, is a remarkable thing. Because it indicates a preparedness to accept something that you're not really into. And that's the whole idea, that you're accepting it before you're into it. And the Rebbe says, when you start your day with an avoid of Haidah. You finish your day with an avoid of Shmeina Esrei, which is called Bittul B'Metzias. If you start your day with miles, with steps, so first of all, there's the possibility that you'll lose interest and you get frustrated. But if you start with steps, you're going to finish with steps. It's always going to be gradual. You're never going to reach the idea of Bittul B'Metzias. But if you start the day with a kevish, with a ramp, with avoid of Seviv Kolamen, with a Haidah, so then after all of the steps, you come to Shmeina Esrei, which is an avodah of Bittul B'Metzias. And of course, the Rebbe connected it to Yetzias Mitzrayim. That's the Haidah in the beginning. Sfiras Ha'omer, that's the climbing of steps. And then there's Matan Torah itself, which is represented by the Bishar She'egdimu and the Shnei Malachim that came and gave them Ksarim Keneged Nasa V'Nishma, that's the name of Bittul B'Metzias. This is what the Maimon was about. So, in short, what the Rebbe taught us was that we wanted to receive the Torah from the Eibishter, but we didn't want to receive the Torah. We want to receive what I guess is called Keser Torah, the crown of Torah. And the crown of Torah, if I understand it correctly, is the idea of the Ein Seif in Torah, or the part of Torah which affects in a person a Bittul B'Metzias, that you become uplifted and included in the Ein Seif of Torah, as we discussed in the earlier classes. To get the Keser Torah, you have to do an avodah of Keser, and then you zeichet to Shnei Ksarim and all the rest. And the avodah of Keser is Haidah. So, here's the question. The Rebbe obviously connects point A and point C. Right? The avodah of Haidah of Meida Ani, which is like Yetzias Mitzrayim, is Kafir. And the avodah of Bittul B'Metzias of Shmeina Esrei, which is Matan Torah, when the Eibishter revealed himself, are linked. But the idea that you're doing an avodah of Keser, to get a schar of Keser, is primarily in the first Meida Ani or in the Shmeina Esrei. Because both of them happen out of Matan Torah. And it's very hard to know what's the Havana in the Maimed. Is the Pshat that the Keser Torah that Yidden got before Matan Torah, which is Bittul B'Metzias, considered also the avodah of Olav HaKevish, which allows you to receive Keser Torah, or is that already the Keser Torah itself? Is that already the schar? It's unclear. But one thing is for sure, that when you learn this Maimer places primacy, gives Iker to the not Hadrogedik avodah, not the Mailes, not the steps, not the one step at a time avodah. This Maimer gives primacy either to an initial Ian of Haidah, where you're not in the mood and you're bending yourself and you're forcing yourself to submit to the Eibishter Meida Ani, or to the idea of Bittul B'Metzias, that a person reaches a place, Chayoch, where Ein Seif reveals itself upon the person and raises the person up, so to speak, from the top down. And when Ein Seif raises the person up from the top down, the person is in the Maimed Matzav of Bittul B'Metzias. So, whatever of these two ideas, the first Aveda, Yetzias Mitzrayim or Meida Ani, or the last Aveda, Matan Torah or Shmeina Esrei, is the Aveda of Keser. That's what this Maimed is saying. You want to succeed as a Jew? The truth of the matter is, you want to succeed in life, you want to succeed as a Jew, start with Haidah. And it de-emphasizes the steps. So I left the steps for its own class. If you look at the bottom of page Kuf Samach Daled, you have a number 15 in your text. If you're following the PDF, which is up on my website at InsideChasidus.org, in the Maimorim section, and of course in the Shua section, or on Facebook, it's the last PDF. I didn't put up the new PDF because I didn't want to confuse people, okay? When I finish teaching this class, I'm going to take, like I said, a break. Then I'll send you the next PDF, and so forth. So the Rebbe says, Vehine. We established, first of all, that the way to receive the Torah properly is to an avodah of Keser, which is Haidah. Second of all, the giving of the Torah is called Keser Torah. Hashem gives us his Ein Seif, which affects a Bittul B'Metzias. But again, we're not sure how we understand it. Is the avodah of Matan Torah, Bittul B'Metzias, already the gift from the Eibishter? Or is the avodah of Bittul B'Metzias a part of the avodah of Keser, which makes us a keli for Keser Torah? But in either case, one thing is clear, that we don't consider in this Maimer the avodah of Milas, right? Madregas, of steps, as an ikir. It's pushed aside for this idea of his battles. Says the Rebbe, Hareze Nimshach Gam B'Shtashos. Now it changes. It's just a few lines. But these last few lines really deserve their own attention. They deserve their own time. They deserve their own class. Because they're their own inyan. That after there's a Kesed Teira has to come down into Teira. It has to come down into mitzvahs. It has to come down to daily living as a Jew. It has to come into the Bidur Amidas. Refining of character. In other words, true, that there's a gift in Torah which is transcendent, but that's half the gift of Torah. The other half the gift of Torah is that the gift of Torah which is transcendent is inspiring the everyday. It infuses into everything that we do. And this is really what Torah is. What Yiddishkeit is. Right? Rabbi Manis Friedman says Judaism is not a religion. It's a way of life. Judaism is not about the highs. It's not about Avodah of Kesed. It's not about Kesed Teira. It's about daily living. It is only that you have to have a koyach from the Avodah of Kesed. You have to have koyach from what's called Kesed Teira for the daily living or for bringing the Ein Sof into the everyday. But the Matorah, the Tachlis, the end of this entire Maimer, which is really, honestly, it's really a wonderful Maimer. So I enjoyed learning this Maimer. I enjoyed preparing this Maimer. And I enjoyed teaching this Maimer wonderfully. And it so happens one of my boys who's home, I mentioned him teaching this Maimer. He knew it like he had just learned it. It was very delightful. A bach in yeshiva, you mentioned a Maimer to him. I don't know when he learned it, but it was frisch. And it added to the geschmack of this Maimer. It's a very special Maimer, no doubt about it. But the Rebbe says, I want you to know, after all of the shturim of this Maimer, of B'Shosha Gdim Yisrael Nasal Nishma the Avodah of Kesed, and then the Schar is the base Ksorim. The Rebbe should give this Kesed Teira. The point of it all is it comes down to Teira Mitzvahs. Because when Hashem created the world, how do I say this? When Hashem created the world, his ultimate goal was normal. Normal. But not normal in the sense that everything is mediocre and everything is average and nobody's hysterical. But fakert. That the extreme and the intensity and the infinity is channeled into normal. Right? In Lashon HaChasidus, Rotze v'shuv, Eirez b'kelim, Leila teyu b'ro, lo sheves yitzara. The infinity of the Avodah of Kesed Teira, the infinity of Kesed Teira itself, brings to a daily living as a Jew. That's the Chiddush of Matan Teira. The infinity comes out into the finitude, into the daily living as a Jew. And part of that daily living as a Jew is what is called Sfiras Eimer. Working on character. Not just doing the mitzvahs, but Pashat working on self-refinement. And I discussed with you in the class that I gave you, I guess, 2 days ago, that one of the most difficult things in the world is Bidur Amidas. For a person to, quote, change who they are, to refine and to enhance and to bring greater exactitude and precision to their mahus is very, very hard work. It's incredibly, incredibly hard work. Because it's very deliberate and very patient and very constant. Like I gave you the example, a person has an anger, yeah? So you can stop the anger in relation with one person through a lot of exercises. But when you undertake to not display anger towards one individual, and you do it with a certain consistency, you master it. And then you use that word, you grow. You don't only grow in the specific bidur of the anger of that person, but you become a better person. And that's what Sfiras Ha'emer is about, the fixing of our lives in a very detailed and a tedious way. The Eibishter wanted Oireis Bekelim. That's why he gave the Torah. Tzadechad, he wanted Dira B'Tachteinim and Amshachas Ha'atzmus. Tzadasheni, he wanted Elokus to come into the brain of a person and into the heart of the person and to the senses of the person and into the garments of the person, into the arms and the legs of the person. And the way he affected all of these things is by making the Torah with mitzvahs that speak about behavior. So the Rebbe says it's true, maybe true, it's true, that the event of Matan Torah was very dramatic, very dynamic, and it involves the Avodah of Kesed, which got us the Schar of Kesed Torah. But the point is then you take that infinity and you bring it into regular living. So now, again, since I'm not sure about the 3 points, I'm not sure about this. What the Rebbe is now describing, is this going back to Sfiras Ha'emer, or just a fourth step? The first step is Tzitzias Mitzrayim, that's Haidah. Second step is Sfiras Ha'emer, that's a Bidur. That's climbing steps. The third step is the Gili of Kesed Teira, which affects the Bittul B'Metzias. And the fourth step, is they living as a Jew, or is he going back again to Sfiras Ha'emer? And you really could say it's both. The bottom line is, the Rebbe says, when Hashem gives us a Torah, it's a huge event. And then there is what they call the day after. The day after is a regular day. Tachas Gafne, Tachas Teinase. You go back to your work and to your life and to your everyday, and you be a Yid. And you take from the Avodah of Keser, from the Keser Torah into the Avodah that's called in this Maimer Milis, step-by-step growth. And that's what the Rebbe now says. It's true that the revelation of Matan Torah is Bechinas HaKeser. Hashem revealed Keser, which is Ein Seif Shalamayla Meishtalshus, which is above Ishtalshus. And we earn that Gilui through the Avodah of Keser, as explained at length in this Maimer. Says the Heilige Rebbe is an Imshach Gam Beishtalshus. Then it has to come down into the chain and the order of worlds, and of course in Avodah to Adam, into every aspect, every facet of their humanity. Let's talk about it in human terms. There is a concept called bittul b'metzias. And bittul b'metzias, as I explained to you, is really a dvekas. It's not that you're bittling yourself to the Eibishter. The Eibishter's light envelops you, and you lift it up, you become an extension of the light. It has to do with the revelation of light, which is altogether beyond the human access and the human reach. In other words, you're enveloped with a potency, with a power of total submission to the Eibishter level of Ein Seif. The end is supposed to be that it has to influence machshava, dibur, u'maaseh, the behavior you're living as a Jew in thought, speech, and deed. And that's the Ratzei V'Shev in Yiddishkeit. First is the Ratzei V'Shev in Yiddishkeit, let's put it this way, of Heidah and then Sfiras HaEmel. But there's also a Ratzei V'Shev in Yiddishkeit of Bittul B'Metzias, and then going away from the Bittul B'Metzias and living as a Jew in Machshava, Dibur, u'Maaseh. The Taka you have Bittul B'Ba'al HaRatzon. A total is battles to the Eibishter himself. The Bittul B'Metzias, which is represented by Hakdamas Nasal Nishma, it's represented by the Beis Kesarim, it's represented by Shemin Esrei. Says the Heilige Rebbe, Pale love, this affects the person. The Yeis B'Maimed U'Matzav, that he should be in a condition. Shem B'Tzad Atzmei Einei Shayach Elov, that it's a level which is far beyond his level by itself. At the same time, the same is also true. When you bring down light through effort. That the idea that a Yid does an avodah of Keser, and he gets a schar of Keser Teira, it then comes down into daily living in the world. So the Rebbe explains it in the language of Chassidus and Kabbalah. But the Rebbe explaining it in the language of Chassidus and Kabbalah. But what the Rebbe's point is, that in our human existence, we bring the avodah of infinity, of bittul to the Eibishter into our every aspect of our life. And he explains it, first of all, comes down into our chokhmah. It comes from chokhmah, and of course the Rebbe explained before that even though it comes from chokhmah, it's it acts as which is higher than say the ishtalshalos. But the Nakuda is, Rabbi side, the point is that the experience of bittul to the Eibishter, on whatever level, then comes down into understanding Torah. By days in Imshach B'Bina, then it comes down into Bina, because Chochmah and Bina, and the Lamas Pasha, Chochmah and Bina are the two friends that never part. Now, why it's Negeya here to mention this idea that Chochmah, Bina, and the Lamas Pasha, I don't know. But the point is that the intuition of Chochmah and the understanding of Bina come together, meaning to say that you're actually learning and understanding the Eibishter's Torah with the koyach of the Keser Torah, the Bittul B'Metzias, which you got before. And then he adds what says also in the Zayah, since the Keser Torah, the Ein Seif that we experience at Matan Torah, then comes down into our Chochmah. And because Chochmah Bina connected comes down into a Bina, it also comes down into a Midas, like it says in the Zayah Bina Liba. The Zayah connects Bina to the heart, which of course doesn't make sense. Every Friday when you say it in Paschal Yo, you scratch it and say, what? Bina is in the heart. It's Chochmah Meicha Bina Liba. So of course there's many different explanations in Chassidus why Bina is called Liba. And one of them is the following. Magid says that even though Shabina mehamechin, Bina is one of the three intellectual faculties. Shebetlas chalal de golgalta, the skull has three different lobes, right? We talk about two lobes, a right lobe and a left lobe, but there's also the back. And I forgot what the back is called, but there's two parts to the back, the right side of the back of the brain and the left side of the back of the brain, which is the two aspects of das. But says the Magid, the Afshabin, Amyamechen Shibitlas, Chol the Golgalta, even though being affected to Meichen, which is in the brain, the unifying or the unity of Chochma and Bina, says the Mitzvah Magid, Mispeshetet ad the Chazer Bechinazar, continues till the higher emotions. So the reason we call Bina Liba is to say that Bina is joining with Chochma, which is constant. It's not just that Chochma spills into Bina, but it spills into the higher emotions as well. So again, there's a lot of Kabbalah ACs here, and I don't understand them all, but I do know this, that the Rebbe's point is that the greatest Giluim that the Eibishter ever gave us, and the incredible Bittul B'Metzias which happens as a result of these Giluyim, has to translate into daily living as a Jew. Like I told you, the mice with the Ruzhiner. And there's a lot of stories like this, or there's some stories like these. The Ruzhiner asked Alter Rebbe as a child. Again, there's some people are mefakpak in the emes of the story, but as it bin get allemaal oizwachsendig. The Ruzhiner asked the Alter Rebbe as a child, how could a person be Makayim v'haftas Hashem Elokecha after he said Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad? If you say Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, there's nothing but the Eibishter. How could you say v'haftas? We know the rule that v'haftas is a klal of yesh misha eyev. So the Rebbe answers, because in between you say Baruch Shem. You go away from Yichud Allah, you come down to Yichud Tata, so you should be able to Mekayim the mitzvah, which is the kavanah of the Eibishter. And again, today we're learning in Chitas the end of Perek Zayin of Sharichet V'Mana. But the beginning of Sharichet V'Mana Perek Zayin is this very point. That the Zayah says that the Eibishter created a Yichud Allah and Yichud Tata. And the Alter Rebbe asks, if you have a Yichud Allah, Yichud Tata becomes a redundancy, and what's the point? And the answer is because the Eibishter wants us to go away from Yichud Allah and come down to the Madreg of Yichud Tata to fulfill his Ratzon of Ano Emlech, which is also in Yifan Dira B'Tachtein. And the same is true here. That the Rebbe says, even though we had a Maimah, which spoke about the Avodah of Kesed and the Gili of Kesed and the Bittul B'Metzias, the end is it has to translate into daily living as a Jew. And by people who were Taka Zeichet to Kesed Teira, people who Taka Zeichet to Kesed Teira, in other words, the experience ain't safe. And the Bittul B'Metzias, so in the story of the Alter Rebbe and the Ruzhiner, they're stepping away from the Bittul B'Metzias in order to be Zeichet to living as a Jew practically, and you could say also they're Mamshich, the Bittul B'Metzias, into every aspect of their regular living. Continues the Rebbe. This is Avodah Sfiras. Here this is a bit of a confusion, right? Because L'cha'oira Sfiras Ha'em is step 2. We're talking step 4. Why? You had the Heidah B'Yetzias Mitzrayim, you had the Milas of Sfiras Ha'em, then you have the second Heidah, the Bittul B'Metzias, the Gili Alakus of Matan Teira. How do you go back to Sfira? So I suppose the answer is because you have first a Bittul, and then you have Milas, then you have a much, much higher Bittul, and after that you have Milas again. So we call it Sfiras Ha'em, even though it's a whole nother Sfiras Ha'em, because it's after Matan Teira. Says the Rebbe, this explains that there's Sfiras Ha'em, but this is another Sfiras Ha'em, if you will. It's the Sfiras Ha'em of after Matan Teira, like the Rebbe says in the Sichos, that the Sfiras Ha'em the first year and Sfiras Ha'em of the later years. It's not the same thing. Hakshur and Memtes Shari Bina, which is connected to the 49 gateways of Bina, Liasam Shachas Amech and Lamidas, bring a Mechan into Midas. Zeo Klaus, in the Matan Teira. And this tells you the story of what happened when Abishai gave us the Teira. That there is a combination, to use words, of Kevesh and Milas, a combination of Bittul, which is Avodah of Kesed, which is the Kli for Kesed Teira, and then is Avodah of Milas, to climb gradually, first of all, to get you from the Bittul Chitzeni of Iskafi to the Bittul Pnimi, Bittul B'Metzias, and second of all, that after the Bittul B'Metzias, you have again Milas to bring it into daily living. By the way, I want to mention that, of course, we learn Rambam, and them Kochmazach, and them Lepman, we learn Rambam, and the Rambam talks in Hilchas Talmud Teira, I think it's the beginning of Pei Gimel of what he calls Keser Teira. He describes what Keser Teira is and how you zeichet the Keser Teira. And of course, the most famous part of that shtickle there is that the Rambam says that even though Keser Kehuda was given to Aaron U'Bana, and Keser Melucha was given to David Shleimi, David HaMelech's Mishpach, Keser Teira is munach b'keren zavis. It's given in a desert. Anybody can have it. Nobody owns it. Keser Teira is available to anybody who wants it. Keser Teira is available to anybody who wants it. And after you have the Keser Teira, you translate that into daily living. Says the Rebbe, was out closely in the Matan Teira. That's the Matan Teira in general. Shaseda Bazehu, the way it happened and the way it has to happen. You start off your life with the skafia. The skafia means begins of. Iskafia. And as the Rebbe told us in the Maimah, that there's a connection between the lowest level and the highest. Which is but as the Rebbe explained in the Maimah, that this hapcha of chedesh yir is hamshachas meichel lemidas. It's not I'm disappearing, but I'm refining what I am. And then you have which is avodah the bittul b'mitzias, where one is bottled all together in his form, which is the avodah of Akdamas Nasa L'Nishma. So Yidden said Nasa. So which is it a cause or an effect? Is Akdamas Nasa L'Nishma what got us to Keser Teira, or was Keser Teira what got us to say Nasa L'Nishma? I don't know this. There's a lot of things which are not entirely clear. And then the Rebbe said that the Eibusha gave him 2 crowns, which is a gili of 18 sefer bittul b'metzias. And then Hayamatan Teira, Shnitlam Teira u'mitzvah. Then the Rebbe finished with these words. They received the Teira with joy and inwardly. And Laniyas Daiti, these last 5 words. Means that after the Gili of Kesan Teira and the Bittul B'Metzias of Matan Teira itself, there was another shoiv, so to speak. There was another Amshach and Machshava Dibur Maisa and daily living. And that's how the Maimah finishes. So I hope you understand why I separated this last piece and I made it into a class. I spent like 25 minutes on it, because I wanted to talk about the idea that even the highest Madregas of Bittul have a shuv after it, that even though this Maimah was such a passionate analysis or review or insight into the avodah of Kesed and the schar of Keser Teira, the bottom line is milas. You have to serve Hashem every day, b'pnimius, every minute and every hour and every day. So I'm going to take approximately a 15-minute break, and then I'm going to give you another shiur on the new Maimah, which I'm